Happy Sunday to friends, family watching us across the globe. Happy Sunday to you all. Today we'll be looking at a special topic, a very important topic on our lifestyle talk section. We'll be looking at humanity, not racism. Then we'll be looking at to mark or create awareness for the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. That will be marked on the 21st in quotes of March. So these are the highlights we'll be looking at in this section before I allow my guests to come in. We'll be looking at elimination of racial discrimination in the workplace, community and education. We'll be looking at diversity and inclusion. We'll be looking at saying no to racism and discrimination. We'll be looking at every life matters, Black Lives Matter, so to say. So this awareness is according to United Nations celebrated every 21st of March globally and is marked for elimination of against racism. So racial discrimination continues to be a pressing issue in the society, and that is why we've been, to create awareness about it, with far-reaching consequences that hinder social cohesion. So today we'll be looking at those highlights I've mentioned. According to the United Nations, the theme for this year, International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, is the decade of recognition, justice, and development. So this is just the implementation of the international decades for people of African descent. So this is why we'll be looking at that. We are all Black, and the life of Black matters to us. So this International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination starts as a vital reminder for all collective in the society, in the community, so to say, and it's our responsibility to combat racism, also to promote tolerance, and also for more equitable world. And this is why we've come today to join the United Nations as large as well to create more awareness on racial discrimination. And also one of the aim of is to one of the aim for this social and racial discrimination is a vital opportunity for individuals, as I mentioned earlier, as communities and nations, to fight against racism, to work towards fulfillment of the United Nations sustainable development. So I'll be allowing my guests at some point to look at this for us and mention some of the highlights we'll be looking at this section. So join us and share with your loved ones. Share, please follow us at Divine Mercy Vision UK, and this is what we do every Sunday between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. And I'll be glad to invite my guests to look at today's topic with us. So stay blessed. Let's do this together. Share with your loved ones. If you're just joining us, you're welcome. I think we have too much of sun this afternoon. I can't see clearly. My glasses is saying though. I can see my guest speaker is rightly behind the studio. I'm trying to add you to the screen. Here we go. How you doing? Good
I'm good, are
evening,
you?
good afternoon. How you doing? I'm fine, and you?
Good afternoon, I'm okay, are you?
It's good to see. Are you feeling cold, Dr. Iluchuku? Are you feeling cold this afternoon?
I'm not
Why don't
feeling
you put
cold.
this hood down?
I'm not feeling cold, but sometimes it's more like a habit.
I know, I know. When you
Except
used to
summertime when you feel free without yeah. So
Yeah, I understand. It's good to
so I'm
have you
okay.
again on the show. How you doing?
Good. Am I good to go now? Not yet.
Yeah, please, if you could do a short introduction, please. Let our
Yeah.
audience know who speaking to them, please.
Okay, my name is Elochukwu Kwanda. I've PhD in cryptography, and I've been a regular in this place. So I'm a Christian, but first and foremost, that's what defines me more than anything else. And I'm also an advocate of equality of human race, and someone who, because I believe that we are just one under God and should be treated equally, irrespective of wherever you are coming from. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's good to have you again on our show, and thank you for supporting us in the past on our show, and thank you for being here this afternoon. So as I mentioned earlier, that I'll be looking at some of the highlights. I don't want to repeat myself again because of the time. So I would like you to go straight on the point on some of the issues we'll be looking at today in terms of International Day for Elimination of Racial Discrimination. So over to you.
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yes, you can, of course, sure.
Okay, let me see slides.
So while we're waiting for you to share the screen, I will just look at the theme again. I said the theme, according to United Nations, is a decade of recognition, justice and development. So this is just the implementation of International Decade for People of African Descent. So this racial discrimination and the legacy of slavery colonialism continue to destroy lives and curtail opportunities to prevent billions of people from enjoying their full human rights and freedom. I know Doctor will be looking at this with us today in terms of the highlights you mentioned earlier, elimination of racial discrimination in workplaces, in communities, and education system. And this year's this theme is to achieve this. The theme is as to lead to the theme International Decade for People of African Descent, as I mentioned earlier. So it spans life frame from 2015 to 2024. So in proclaiming this decade, the international community is recognizing that people of African descent represent a distinct group whose human rights must be promoted and protected. So we need to protect our human rights as Black, as life matters. So we need to fight against racism by raising awareness and gaining support for global action on racism, discrimination, and what else?
Can I present it now?
So it's over to you now. Do you want me to have that on the screen now? Are you ready?
Yeah, is it on the screen now? Yeah.
Yeah, this is a slide. Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, but it's not showing exactly what
I can see.
Yeah, the title is not showing well. Is it showing for you?
Yeah, go on, Doctor. It should be fine. Probably the slide.
The slide, yes, it said one humanity under God. That's what I have as the title. I'm sorry, Timbi. As I was presenting, is it moving? Is it auto-playing?
No, I just move it now, but you go on. You can move
okay,
it to him.
So go ahead, move on. Okay. So I'll be talking some things. Maybe some of them will be out of the slide just for direction, actually. So I just have some things about the concept of discrimination, because if we must talk about racial discrimination, racial discrimination came from somewhere. It's something that led to this music. So I looked at the concept of discrimination. What is discrimination? Even in our homes, there are discrimination in our homes. It's just more of giving undue advantage to someone over others. So we have these are the outline. We have the secular. What I mean by secular is day-to-day activities of human beings, and there's also spiritual perspective to that. They will now move into racial discrimination, what it is and what is not, then incident of racial discrimination, and then the impacts thereabout. So we'll try to look at them holistically, so to help each other and know, because sometimes, there's a common saying that says, he who goes to equity must go with a clean hand. So if we must fight discrimination and vis-a-vis racial discrimination, we also need to eliminate discrimination in our own concept. I keep telling people, what makes our actions or our belief or our words stronger is what we do in ourselves, not just what we say. It's different for you to stand up and say, I stand up against racial discrimination, all those, you shout and shout. But deep down you, in your own home, you see kind of bias around you, how you treat people in your workplace. So if we must stand up to fight this, we must first of all bring ourselves. One man said, our greatest enemy is not the person you look outside, it's ourselves. Until a man gets to conquer himself, you can't conquer the world. So once you're able to conquer yourself, you cannot conquer the world. So I said, what's the understanding discrimination? First of all, the spiritual perspective. One thing we must know, just like every other sin, discrimination is sin against God and humanity. The reason why it's a sin is because you are segregating against what God has created. And the Bible says that God made man in his image, after his own likeness. So we as human, irrespective of position where you have, must treat yourself human being, not just only human, even animals. You must give everybody equal opportunities and rights. You can't say, oh, I love her, but when you say an animal, you say, just kick it up and no. There was one thing that somebody showed recently that I was really touched by it. It was just a kind of dog. They were moving across the road. Some drivers quietly saw it and they all stopped and allowed the dog to crawl with the kids along the way. That is humanity. That is humanity. That is the issue of non-discrimination. Okay, so if you look at, and let's look at it from the scripture perspective. We don't have all the time. The time of the Good Samaritan. Bible talked about the Samaritan who was beaten. Christ was talking about who is a neighbor. He now gave a story about this good Samaritan. Those people who saw the priest, why were they passing by? Because they see him as he's not a Jew. So touching him is defilement. That's discrimination. He is somebody God has made that requires help, but you are a priest, you saw him and then kept moved the other way around because it's not exactly the kind of your own class. So it's discrimination. Because I was talking about it at this level of discrimination. Then there are so many of them, but I will not take all your time. Like another one is important one is Paul. Paul was giving the gospel to be preached to the Gentile world. So he understood what it means. At some point, he had to circumcise Timothy to be able to move into the Gentile world because they knew that the father was Greek. So at this point, Paul was rebuking Peter because when Paul saw Peter, he withdrew from eating with the Gentiles. He has gone to preach. So Paul stood up and started against him. I'll come back to this again, how to combat racism and thereabout. Okay. Then the secular perspective, there's something that I want to use some current issues that happen in Wales here that really touch me deeply. Most of us know that Wales have got a new first minister for her getting. Yeah. Okay. This is something that she really said that really touched me. I want to read it because it touches on that it's not just something that people do only to the poor, but also to the rich. The mom is from Zambia and the father is Welsh. So he has got a black skin. So he's also suffering the same thing the black people are suffering, even though he's Welsh. Look at what he said. Said in an interview with Guardian, Getty said he wanted to be judged not on his skin color, but on his ability. So you can see for someone to say this, which was taken out of the quote of Martin Luther King, which said, I have a dream, that I really want to live in a nation where my four little children will be judged not on the color of their skin, but the content of their character. So that was what Getty was saying. If Getty could say this, it means he has passed through a lot of hell being on a black skin, even though he's Welsh origin. So his issue of this truth is serious. It's not something we just wake up and say, no. It's something that is lived with us like every other sin, which every one of us need to work against. So I want to use it to bring the perspective to us, to understand that consciously and unconsciously, people are passing through this. It does exist completely, and people do it. Then let's look at racial discrimination. What it is and what is not. You might wonder why I say what is not. I will come to that seriously so you understand it. I also want to use this for getting again on the issue of what racial discrimination is to understand how serious it is. He's a first minister, so you can see when somebody of that class what he has passed through in life to get to where he is. I decided to bring up his case so that we understand how deep it is in our system. He said Getting was born in Zambia to a white family. And he said his family moved to Monmouthshire in Wales when he was 2 years old, only to be forced to relocate to Dorset in England after his father faced job discrimination because of his family race. This race is called race by association. The father is Welsh, but the mother is Zambian. So people knowing that the mom is a white person marrying a black, they now dissociate him. So now discriminate against him. That is what called racism by association. You see the kind of thing they've passed through, where he's coming from all along, and all the strength, all the things, even though his name doesn't sound Zambia, he sounds Welsh, but he has to pass through it. So it's not about the concept of name, it's about the content of your skin, the color of your skin, and what to look for. That is the consciousness. So it's not about the name, it's about the consciousness, about the skin. What people say skin, what do they think about it? Then I will say what it is not. Martin Luther King said that many white people, even well-meaning, think that equality means black people have to improve. So they think that the reason why the people are discriminated is because they have low quality. It's not. Racism is about giving people, not discriminating people by the content of their skin. So it's not saying, hey, I remember one lady one day who said something that really touched me. She's married to a white. She's from Czech Republic, but is married to a black person. So she said something one day that what really gets her angry is for people who think that they are of a different color, thinking that somebody that's a different color, like a black person, is of low quality. So whatever you are, once your skin is this color, you have of higher quality than anybody else who is not of the same color with you. So it's not a concept of asking people to improve. It's a concept of you having a problem with somebody's skin color. So don't say, oh no, it's not that it's racism. It's just that no, he needs to improve his quality or go to better. No, it's not. It's not. It's not about that. It's about the consciousness that's been imputed on people when they see people of different color. So, like that's what King was saying. It's not the issue of asking black people to improve. No, he himself was a very well-read man, but why was he being discriminated? It's not about him not having good education. That's why you say, no, I can't give you a job because he has certificate himself. No, it's not true. So he doesn't have to do that. Okay, let's look at a little bit of incident of racial discrimination. These are a few things I want to bring on. Also, this one says, Ade is black. And after an argument with someone at work who is white, Ade is given a final written warning. Okay, the other person gets a first written warning. Possibly a white person, two people committed an offense. Okay, there are procedures for treating such things. This incident is about shifting goalposts. We'll come to that after discussing this. Then one person got the normal treatment, which is getting the first written warning, but Ade got the final written warning at the first instance. Because it was assumed that Ade caused the problem. This is direct discrimination. Racial discrimination comes in different formats. We'll come to that. But what is this about? It's about that undue advantage. Sometimes, in fact, I've seen someone, he's even white, he was talking about discrimination he's getting in the workplace. But what is this? It's exactly like this, shifting the goalpost. Because you don't like this person, when it comes, you change the rules. You say, oh no, the law has changed. It's no longer this, no longer that. But when somebody else that you want to favor comes in, the law becomes different. Using different laws for different people. Possibly because of it. So then this another one is about getting, that happened recently again. I'll bring him on again. He said, in Guardian, I was reading through it, I was really touched. He said, when I got up to speak, there was an audible gasp. We'll come and talk about this kind of racism. I was surprised. Even in Birmingham, Alabama, a very black city, they didn't expect someone who looked like me to stand up from Wales. Does not touch you as human. Somebody, they think, oh, you talk about Wales representative, he stood up, he said, oh, a black person. How can a black person represent Wales, a white country? You understand? So that kind of unconscious people. I'm sorry to say, I've come to a place. It has happened to me. We are in a public place. I wanted to teach. I discovered how some people were not even interested in what I was saying. They just looked indifferent. Until such a time when they discovered that what I was saying was knowledge they could not do without. They started having attention, started listening, started asking questions. I looked at them and laughed. It's just kind of racial discrimination. And a lot of people do it consciously or unconsciously. Because once your color or even accent, it's not just only, some of them even come as a result of accent. I remember one professor who told me, he said, each time I want to speak, they say, oh, I don't like your accent. They say a lot of things. It happens not so somehow a lot of the things becomes a little bit unconscious. People do it unconsciously because of the level where they have lived, the level of intolerance that is built in man. Especially people who don't have that relational abilities by trying to relate to people from different worlds. They look at their own world from their own perspective, from their own little environment, and they define everybody in that concept. So it's a little bit more challenging in that area, in those people within that area. So whether it's black or white country, it's almost that challenging in those areas. So we'll discuss more on this area. Now, what an impact of racial discrimination. This is where it becomes a little bit challenging and tough. Racism occur at different levels, especially at 3 different levels. We have what they call individual or interpersonal levels, like speeches. Oh, I remember it's a simple, very painful case. Okay, someone got an interview, and because he speaks a particular accent, the accent was quite what they think they are need to do. But do you know that when this guy appeared after he was given the job, when he appeared to start the job, the one they told, oh, I'm sorry, the color of your skin is not what I'm looking for, even though your accent is exactly what you're looking for. And we are sorry we can't take you on board. To avoid litigation, they have to pay the guy off, pay him huge sum of money, and say, I'm sorry about that. The guy had God didn't get a job, but he took away resources. So speeches can lead to racial discrimination, consciously or unconsciously. That is individual racism or interpersonal levels. Glances. One of my friends told me one day how he got to a particular country. He's a black guy, went to white dominated countries. He said he couldn't believe it that people were snapping pictures. They was just surprised that they seen a black face in their country. And people gathered around, they were snapping pictures, trying to find out. Some went as far as trying to befriend him, touch him. I remembered also one man who married, he's a black, married a white. He said he got to a point that even the children, sometimes they'll be touching his skin, trying to see whether he can peel off, as if he can change from black to something. So he was surprised. You look at him and say, what are you doing? He said, just trying to find out why your skin is like this. That is, remember whether it is dirt or maybe it's dirty or something stained that's causing it to be dark. So they're trying to see how it's going to work. It is just unconscious kind of lifestyle people do. So actions as well. Like I said before, I've gone to a public place where I want to speak, and I saw a lot of people that were there. They were indifferent because they didn't think that I have something to provide, because that bias is already there. So naturally they think, oh, this guy doesn't have anything to say. So, we feel indifferent. And let's not bother ourselves on what to say. So it's about actions with people. Another one is institutional or systemic level of racism. Institutional like governments, education, or justice system. If you look very closely, where we lived before, I've lived in a country where if you come, the place is so designed in such a way that if you come and you're not of that race, they want to push you to move into a different settlement. So in that settlement, it means both you, your children, if you have children, they're going to have different education altogether, because the policy of the government out there is such a way that before you can even get school, you need to talk about the catchment area. So if you are pushed into that kind of area, it's difficult for your children to mix up with people from different other areas. So you see that kind of, and sometimes it happens, some of them are just policies that are designed to make people behave that way. I also know, well, this one, we may not call it racial discrimination, but somehow, but it's the kind of discrimination, it's the kind of people who they feel they're not well educated, the system is designed so that, oh, these people should live in this area. No, sometimes government policies discriminate. Sometimes it's meant to set standard. That standard becomes a gap, creates a gap, it's kind of discrimination. So it means if you don't meet up with this, don't come this way. So you see that somehow along the line, governments and system, the world system, is not fair in the word fair in the sense that it's not equal, sort of. It's not equal as we look at it, because whether you like it or not, the rich people will learn to live in a particular society where, in fact, if you have an estate where you have in a society that is a little bit freer, they will have an estate where you have the kind of resources or values up there. The poor will not go there. So one way or the other, you can't even mix up with their children in going to school. So somehow you just discriminate. So you see yourself going that way. So somehow, one man was telling one, he said, look, what you need to know about this life is that the world is not equal or fair, the way we see it. Whether you like it or not, there will always be discrimination. Even the aeroplane you enter, you see the economic class, the business class, and other classes. So it's this kind of way. So the other one is at the systemic level. Systemic level somehow is sometimes it could be unintentional, but just about the policies. Like I said now, like I'm just saying, you can have council tax here, is band A, band B, band C. It's discrimination. But somehow it's not intentional. It just, they'll think, it's a good policy to make this place safe, make this, that kind of a thing. I remember when I moved here in Isley, some people, when they see me, say, are you living in this part of Cardiff? I said, what is wrong with this part of Cardiff? They say, oh, no. I just wanted to find out if you're living there. So I was just asking myself, why do you think about, why do you see me? I said, if someone say, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's where I think is very cheap, maybe, So they think that if you are of black, you live in less economic advantage area. So because that's what you can afford. That is the kind of consciousness people exhibit. So sometimes you see, I'll come to about how we can handle some of these things because I'm not sure, like everyone saying, you can eliminate sin completely in life, but there's a way how would you keep fighting against it, raising it up. And sometimes you see human nature. Man is naturally a sinner. The default nature of man is sin. So it only takes grace of God for man to become better being and somehow with a level of education and training. So we have societal levels of racism, that's institutions, like I said, political systems, like I was telling you about this one I'm getting now. I understand that from what I read about him, we have taken him very long journey into where he is. And there's some people that will have better advantage than him because he can't stand up with other people. He has been working over the years to establish himself as a voice. But I could see that he has worked around the clock more than every person else. There's also other aspect of, like I'm talking about, impact of racial discrimination. It impacts our economic systems. When you are meant to live in a particular area or work in a particular area, or even not be allowed to do a particular job, it impacts on the economy. It also impacts on social. Sometimes it makes other people feel less human than others. Such things make you, if you don't control yourself or manage yourself properly, well, it will make you look less human than others. The time cannot fail me to give some examples of all those things that has existed over the years. Okay, it also has physical impact. We are talking about Black Lives Matters that came up from the issue of George Floyd, where he was killed. You also know that it was the issue of racism that led to the killing of Martin Luther King Jr. After his speech, they say, what do you mean? It has happened a lot. There are so many shootings, so many killings here and there on the issue of racial discrimination. So you can see people got up and get angry. So these are black people that are not human, they are less human than anything, just go there, killing everywhere. So it also affects physical as well. Okay, health impact. I've seen some people, because of the way they were racially discriminated, they had mental health issues. Some of them suffer a kind of mental health that sometimes they become aggressive when they see people coming around close to them. It's become because somehow they think that if you're coming to them, you're unfriendly to them. So somehow it has affected how they relate to people, and somehow it becomes so they need such people might even need to go more of issue of possibly some therapy to help them recover that you're human, you're not less than any human. So it's also in fact our health as well, especially the mental health issues. Okay, I use the word minimizing because somehow over the years since we are born up to today, in fact, racism hasn't been stamped out completely, but somehow it gets reduced day by day. Sometimes there are some areas, like if you go to South Africa, there are apartheid is part of racial discrimination. In areas where racism is practiced, it has been reduced. Like issue of, I'll talk about Van Ketten. Many years back, it's difficult for him to become the first minister of Wales. Not even talking about maybe Rishi Sunak becoming the Prime Minister of UK. Or this guy in Scotland, what's his name again? The USAC, I think Youssef. But if many years back, he would be First Minister of Scotland. In fact, I was reading this recently. They said, that call it ethnic minority or the black people, they have about 3 out of 4 nations in the UK are now in charge of the system. What I'm trying to say this is that it's looked as a kind of development, a progress, which before now it will be difficult to attain. Okay, so I'm talking about how do you minimize it? Spiritually, know who you are in Christ. You can't fight racism one way. It has to be 2 ways. How do I mean that? If somebody is trying to reduce you, it is you accepting it or being subdued by that action that makes it impact on you. If you know who you are in Christ, joint heir, somebody who Christ was given as a sacrifice for redemption, you mean you are priceless. If God could prize you to that point of giving his son for your redemption, it means you are priceless. So if you know who you are in Christ, then you can stand every discrimination because you will not give up on anything that is less. You cannot take less for an answer. You always take the best because you are the best. Societally, there are a lot of laws, the Equality Act of 2010, and so many laws that have been coming up, even in the workplace, in different areas. A lot of people maximize it. Yeah, I know. So these are kind of societal effect in laws that are helping people to fight racism, both in workplace. You just simply need to know, your rights. But the point is this, there's something someone said, which is obvious. He said that racism is difficult to fight because sometimes they are rather expressed in different ways. So some of these things, you may not have a law to fight it. Okay? If somebody sees you and snap his feet and then goes away, how do you fight it? How do you get, if you go to law, you need to prove beyond reasonable doubt. You need to have some people who live in, you need to have witnesses in law that will substantiate the evidence. So some of them are difficult to fight. So it is rather you just leave it and live up by standing by your ground than you going to fight it legally. So the law is there in some areas where you can substantiate, like workplace discrimination. Sometimes some discrimination, like as societal, come or systemic as a result of system. They try to put up that law because if you say you are discriminated against, they will bring out the law, the policy, which was the reason why the behavior was made out to you. But deeply it's racial against you. But you can't fight it because there's a law or rule that you set up to do. And sometimes people also interpret laws differently to suit them at this point in time. So you see, to a greater level, racism is difficult to fight in different means because it's expressed in different ways. It becomes easier when you have both legal witnesses and strong evidence to stand up against it. But otherwise, there's no need making a case where you cannot substantiate it because the judge himself is human. He needs to base your case by evidence. Then look at another one. Personally, I say you need to stand up for yourself. I was reading about this lady called Anne Mary Imafidon. He's a British Nigerian. The father is a professor in Oxford. People were asking her how she was able to get to where she is today. As of today, she's 33 years old. She's about 33 years. But she was nominated this year as the Chancellor of Glasgow Caledonian University. She has MBA. And she has broken so many records. So people were asking her, how are you able to get to this point in life, even though you are black? She said from her younger age, the mom taught her to stand up for herself. Because someone who is bullying you or discriminating against you, when he sees that you are more like a flood, what I mean by the flood, flood, when the flood is moving, irrespective of how you try to stop it, you always find its way around. That's what it means by stand up for yourself. When you stand up for yourself, and people see that, look, you can't be stopped, they rather give way or join with you. That's the simple way about it. So you need to learn to stand up for yourself and become who you are, strong, and know who you are. One of the things you need to do is to make sure you have the best of yourself. Get a skill set, get the education, work for yourself, work day and night. If people are working 1 hour, work 3 hours. Become the best. And when you stand up and stand out, people will have no option than either to reject you becomes a problem. The Bible said we are like earthen vessels which God has poured treasures in. Those treasures God has poured in you are very valuable treasures that humanity cannot afford to miss. So when you have that fragrance, that fruit that is difficult for people not to pluck, definitely you see people coming around. There's a saying that says, Success has many friends, but failure is an orphan. So you need to push the boundaries and get beyond it by standing up and standing up for yourself. Lastly, I would say refuse to be defined by how people see you or rate you. How do I mean by this? There are a lot of cases which has been there that people are judged. Like, see what this Van Getty was saying? I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin, but my ability. So what he's saying that a lot of people have before now judged him by the color of his skin. So when they see him, they dismiss him as a low profile fellow or low quality person because of the color of his skin. But that's not what he is. He has something to offer. And that's what he's telling the world now. Don't judge me by the color of my skin. And of course, one of the things we have proven beyond reasonable doubt is even there are a lot of presidents who have come up to say, look, we can do it together. So, and don't let how people rate you define you. No way. Even when you fail or keep getting failed or people keep pushing you down, keep rising up. Keep rising up. Even if you go out for a job or whatever it is and you keep getting all those kind of unfortunate emails, don't give up on it. You keep pushing. In fact, to some extent, tell yourself it's a learning curve you must pass through. Because as you keep learning, you get better. That's the simple truth about it. There's some people who don't know. People think that, let's keep pushing him down. After that, you get exhausted. No. Sometimes when you push people down, you're making them stronger. Because the more they get up, the more they become stronger. They become resilient to issues. And these are things that will help them take them further in life. I want to come back to this for getting again. One of the things that I've met him, he has been in student leadership thereabout, and has passed through so many things. So those things were the learning curve that has made him to stand his ground to this point. So he's not afraid to take a risk. He's not afraid to present himself. He's no longer afraid to say, yes, I can do it. He's not afraid to speak. Even when people are sighing or gasping or making noise, he's not interested. He wants to give out what he has. So by the time you go home, you regret not taking time to listen to him. That's what we need to do. These are the ways we must stand up. Because he who wants to push you down is afraid of you at the first instance. So he thinks there's something you have that if allowed to spit it, you'll be disadvantaged. So why will you allow that person to push you down and then get to the result he or she wants? No. Stand up. Keep pushing. You always get there. All you need to do is refuse to be defined by what they do to you, on how they rate you, on how they treat you. If you do that, definitely you can stand up for yourself and you come to a point whereby people will say, no way, this guy, it is either him or nobody else. Thank you so much for listening. I'll wait to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iluchuko. It is a wider topic that we can finish in a day, but trying to go back to the saying, which is a decade of recognition in terms of justice and development. We all know that no country can claim to be free of racism. Racism will keep every now and then, even at workplaces, at within the community and what have you. So it's a global concern, so to say, and we need to tackle the issue by universal efforts. So I will just ask like few questions before you go. So all human beings are born and free in terms of dignity and rights. So racial discrimination has no place in the society. So what advice can you give to our audience today and how to ensure its complete eradication in terms of racial discrimination?
Yeah, like I said before, first of all, he who goes to equity must go with a clean hand. Okay? Racial discrimination is an aspect of discrimination, and like every other thing, is a sin of its own. First of all, let us, on our own, come to a point where we agree that every human being is born equal. It's only by saying it, but by practicing it and standing up for it. So whenever you see it being done, before you stand up against it. Is it one thing? Society is not changed all at once. Society is changed one person at a time. If you stand up for it, you may not know those people you are sitting down there or people seeing you fighting for it. You must have been inspiring other people. If you look at Van Getten, he said he joined Labour Party when he listened to Nelson Mandela. You can see the speeches Mandela made against apartheid were things that inspired people like him to become what they are today. So those speeches kept them moving. So society is changed one person at a time. And before you can change society, the first person that must change is you yourself. Stand up for what you are speaking, not saying one thing and doing another thing. Once you can do it, society will get changed one day at a time. It's not possible to eradicate it completely all at once. You must change one day at a time. Like this guy now, if he has come up now, by the experience he has had, he will put in all effort to make sure every space where racism is found is dealt with, because he has seen it, he knows it, he has passed through it. So that's what I want to say about that.
Okay. So thank you so much for coming on live. We've got a few minutes left here. I will allow you to go. Thank you so much for supporting us in the past and for appearing this evening. It is a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. Have a lovely week.
Thank you. And have a nice day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. So thank you so much for those that have joined us in the course of today's section. We've looked at the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. I mentioned that this awareness is created on the will be celebrated or be marked on the 21st of March, which is this Thursday. But we didn't fit to discuss the issue today in terms of lowering or raising awareness about racial discrimination. And I guess I've actually mentioned that we need it. If we need a change, the change needs to start from us as individual. So racial discrimination can happen to anyone. It can happen to us at workplaces, what have you, within the community. So racial discrimination can happen to the basis of either within your race, looking at your race, your color, national origin, ethnic origin, and where you come from. So it can come in. One of the highlights I mentioned earlier is emanating of racial discrimination in workplaces. So we need a change in terms of racial discrimination. Then let's the change start from us. So let us all have the zero tolerance of for racial discrimination. Let the change. Let's promote or create more awareness of eliminating it. As I guess mentioned that it cannot be completely eradicated, but at least at some points as individuals, let's work towards it, And there are some ways to say no to racism and discrimination. There are so many ways we could say no to it. We could assess our innocence, just what our guest speaker have said. Acknowledging the color. We are black. We need to come to the fact that we are black. You cannot change it. There is nothing you can do to your color. So that is yeah. So it is you can't change your color. You can acknowledge that color. So for the mere fact that you are black, or need to accept that faith, accept that you are black in terms of acknowledging your color. And also another ways to eliminate to say no to racism and discrimination is to increase your exposure. There are lots of information out there we can read. We can look at this the United Nations, what in terms of the theme for this year, International Day for Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And also to challenge bias is another way of saying no to racism and discrimination, and be visible. Let your voice be heard, just like the guest speaker said earlier. So let your voice be heard. Speak out when you need to speak out. So let us all follow, or let's all have this zero tolerance of for racial or racism and discrimination in our society. And also, I know he didn't mention that discrimination comes in two ways. It's either a direct form or indirect form. So when we talk about direct discrimination, is whereby when people are being treated, on the racial ground, so to say, rejecting all job application, for example, taking white for black in a job, in employment, or in a workplace. So these are some of the things we can look at in terms of a direct discrimination. And another way we could look at it is indirect discrimination, which occurs no discriminatory requirements. They can so many, especially in the workplaces, or looking at the gender as well. So to everyone actually, being harder for people to get a particular because of racial groups in a community. So this is so common as well, either direct or indirect. And it's also a chance for people to voice opinions. When we talk about according to the theme for this year, according to United Nations, that this year awareness is to aim to chance, to let people to voice out their opinions in terms of promoting equality and across the backgrounds and culture, especially for African descent. So we need to promote our culture, we need to acknowledge our colors, we need to acknowledge the fact that we are black and Black Lives Matters. So before I end the show, discrimination may be, I mentioned it that it could be direct and indirect, and also we need to be reminded as we say no and fight racism by raising more awareness, gaining support in the society, of course, in our community for global action on racism and of course discrimination and other intolerances within the community. So let us join the United Nations this Thursday as well to know in our own little way how we could eliminate racial discrimination in the society. So the aim also is to encourage people to remember their obligation and determination to combat racial discrimination. So these have been said earlier. So these are the way we could, some ways to say no to racism and discrimination as the aim why United Nations has come up with this year, International Day, Elimination of Racial Discrimination, the theme which says the decade of recognition in terms of justice and development. So I hope this has blessed someone out there. Let's go out this week to to participate as well in terms of contributing our whole quota in the society by saying no to discrimination, racial discrimination, so to say. So it's good to see you all again on this show. And this is what we do every Sunday between the hours of 4 and 5 p.m. on our live show here at our Divine Base TV. To acknowledge those that have joined me in the course of today's section. Thank you so much, Mama Rita, for joining me. Thank you to Adetutu for joining me. And also, let me use this medium to say thank you to our guest speaker, Dr. Eluchukwu Kwandu. Thank you so much for coming live with me. I know it's been all the time. We invite you as a guest speaker for believing in this vision. And for those that are behind the scene, thank you so much. I love you. This last Sunday is the last Sunday, or the Easter Sunday. I'm not really sure if we'll be coming live. I was thinking we'll be having a celebration talk section, whereby we'll be having a birthday shout outs. And this is one of the section I love celebrating on this platform. But unfortunately, I'm not really sure if I'll be coming live